In this lesson, we'll discuss and also look at saving your Revit MEP project, but enabling work sharing. So you may say or may ask, what is work sharing? Work sharing is a way to make a central Revit project file and allow other users to have local files or local copies that synchronize to the main central Revit file or project. This is called work sharing. So, for example, in an architecture firm or design firm, you may have multiple individuals working on the same Revit project. Well, instead of passing one singular file around, a central Revit project file is created, and all of the users have their own local copy of that central file, and they add their own elements. And the discipline and how it's set up can vary, meaning you could have individuals working solely on mechanical, electrical, and plumbing elements. You could have other individuals working solely on structural elements, and others still working on architectural elements. Or you could delineate down even a little further, so certain individuals may just be working on walls or doors or HVAC systems or plumbing systems. So the approach can take a different shape depending on the need and the size of firm and the number of individuals working on the project. So to get started, we're going to take this project file that I currently have open for this lesson, and it's basically just created from one of the actual architectural or mechanical or collaborative templates. Nothing's in it right now. So we're going to set up a central file and look at the work sets and everything that goes into work sharing. To do this, let's go to the Collaborate tab on your ribbon. The first thing you'll want to do on the Collaborate tab is all the way on the left, click Work Sets. This will start the process of creating a central file. Now, by default, since this file is blank, and generally you should create a work set before starting the project. So this work sharing environment is set up first. So since nothing is in this, the default settings here would be to move levels and grids, if they exist already, which they do in this template, to this work set 1. Well, we're going to leave it just named as this right now. You could rename that if you want to levels and grids. Go ahead and click OK. What this will do now is start to create that central file and all of those elements built into it. And then what we'll do after it's created, we'll actually start to add additional work sets in. So the work set screen now appears, and you see you have work set 1 and the shared levels grids, what we saw on the previous screen. Now, the next task as far as setting this up would be to add these additional work sets. So depending again on the firm, the number of users, and the disciplines, you could do such things as create a work set called maybe MEP. That could be one work set. I could call another work set structure. You could even go to further steps saying, well, maybe I'm going to create a work set called doors, and maybe I'll create a work set called HVAC. Just totally dependent upon, again, the number of users and how you want them to be able to work on things. But you may ask, well, what's the difference if you have it at a high level like MEP, or if you delineate down more of a micromanaged one like doors, HVAC, walls, windows? As each user takes ownership of that work set, you have the ability to basically say no one else can modify anything on this work set. So for example, if I use the HVAC work set, and me as Tim, I'm the user, I can actually add and change elements on that work set, HVAC related. Other people will see what I'm doing, but won't necessarily have the ability to change that. Now, that's up to you as the individual and the company if you want the workflow to work like that. We can look at it in different ways. Now, what you see on your screen are several columns. And again, these work sets can be as many as you want or as little as you want. The first column says editable. Now, one thing to note about this, it actually has nothing to do with being able to edit. What it actually has to do with is who's the owner. So right now, the owner is me, Tim, because I'm creating this central file. So that's why all of these are marked as editable, because I'm the owner. Borrowers would be individuals that are borrowing this work set for use in whatever they're designing. And then visible in all views, meaning that I can actually see this data in all of my views. So as other people add things, I see it in mine. So right now, we're going to leave it just as is. Note there are a few other options on the bottom in the show area. One is project standards. This has to do a lot with types for annotation and different elements, but these are also examples of work sets. Some of these are automatic for when you create various elements inside of Revit, that there's already a work set created for it. You also have work sets for families. Dependent upon the type of content you're adding, that work set is already predefined and added. And then you have the user ones, which we're creating. So let's go ahead and click OK. What that will do right now is that will actually prep everything for the work set within this file. And you can see it now. If you go to the dropdown, you see your user-defined work sets, the ones that we just set up. You also have the same dropdown menu on the very bottom of your screen, and it's there because you may not always be on the Collaborate tab. You don't want to always keep bouncing back and forth if you want to access your work set. Once this is set up, and again, you could go back to work sets and add more, change, etc. But the next step before this is actually shared is now to save this as a central file. To do that, go to the large R in the upper left, Save As, and click Project. Now it's going to come up for a name. Now the name we started with was 509, but I'm going to actually add after it the term or the text Central Project. It could be Central Project, Central File. You could pick and choose whatever name you want. But basically, this is the actual master file that would sit on a server, if you will. And no one, once it's set up, should be accessing this. You would access your local copy. Go ahead and click Save. What it will actually do then is it will prepare and create this file. It'll also create a backup folder along with that file in the directory wherever you chose to save it. Once that's complete, we'll go back and look at our work sets. Now, the thing you should do once you have everything set up, meaning the work sets created, originally they were all owned by me, but I don't want to own them now because I want to distribute out the ownership to other individuals. So what you should do is click Relinquish All Mine. Basically, that means I give up ownership for anything that I currently had ownership with. Once that's done, I can go to Synchronize with Central and Synchronize Now. Both of these options synchronize any changes to the central file, but the Synchronize and Modify settings allows you to add additional comments if you want to. And this is for history purposes, so you can actually track what each individual does. I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. So that'll push any changes back. Now, technically, there were none because we didn't do anything. Now, let's go ahead and click Work Sets again, over on the left on the Collaborate tab. This time, what you'll see is the owner column is blank. That's because I used the Relinquish All Mine option, and Editable now is changed to No. Again, that doesn't mean you can't edit that. That just means that I don't own it right now. I'm not the owner of that actual work set itself. If Editable is set to Yes, that means the owner, and only the owner, have rights to modify or add to that work set. If it's set to No, anyone can actually add or modify to the work set, including the owner. Open means that it's open right now, and View in all views, I can see it in all my views. Go ahead and click OK. And then just to verify all of our settings, one last time, I'll just go to the large R, Save As, Save Project, and I can verify now that I can see the project is saved, 509-Central Project, or whatever you chose within your name. Go ahead and click Cancel. So as a review, what we looked at in this lesson was saving an MEP project, but setting up work sharing so we create a central file first before we actually create the local files. We looked at setting up work sets, the initial work sets for the central file. We also looked at creating additional work sets. Those could be at the high level, such as MEP, structure, and architecture, or delineated down to lower levels, like for doors, windows, walls, HVAC, plumbing. We also looked at how to relinquish work sets that I currently own and how to synchronize all of these changes back to the actual central server. This was the setup of the master Revit project file to be actually used now by all of our other individuals that will synchronize their changes to it.